Hey everyone, this is Dr. Casey Johnson. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I know you're going to love today's episode with Brittany Biggers. Brittany is doing some amazing work, so I'm excited to have her on to share a story with you guys. If you've been loving the Unlock Wellness podcast, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. The Unlock Wellness podcast is now on patreon.com. Patreon is an amazing site that allows you to support your favorite podcasts. You can learn more by going to patreon.com/Dr. Casey Johnson. There are even fun incentives for supporting, like shirts and stickers, so be sure to check it out. Also, be sure to follow me on social media to keep up with the latest podcast episodes. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. My username across the board is at Dr. Casey Johnson. That's DrKaseyJohnson. You can also check out my website at drkaseyjohnson.com. It has all of the past podcast episodes and more information about each guest under the Listen tab. While you're on my site, also be sure to check out the Shop tab, where you can check out my first book of my Healthy Children's Book series and learn about the Unlock Wellness Project, which supplies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. Thank you again for listening. I hope this episode leaves you feeling inspired to start making positive changes to your health. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Brittany Biggers. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Brittany Biggers, better known by the Fellow Foodie. And Brittany runs an amazing plant-based blog and is just doing so much positive work. So I'm excited to have her on to share a story with you guys. So Brittany, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
Yes, I'm excited.
No, Brittany was actually a listener of the podcast, and she reached out a while back and actually connected me with Alan Adams from Vet Veggies, which I can't remember exactly what episode that was, but he was awesome. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I love their concept, and I loved that episode of the podcast.
Thank you. Because you guys could go over there and visit their facility, right?
I did. That was back in February, I think.
Yeah.
It's an awesome place, and I'll be joining them in Northwest Arkansas soon. So
that's awesome. Yeah, they're doing a lot of really awesome stuff. So yeah, go check out that episode if you haven't listened to it yet. And then Brittany, we'll jump into your backstory. First off, where you're from and what your health and wellness looks like at a younger age, just so everybody kind of understands how you've progressed over time.
Okay, yeah. I'm from Batesville, Arkansas. It's a small town in north central Arkansas, about 10,000 people. I still currently live here. I did go off to college about an hour and a half away. Growing up, I was definitely not active. I actually had never ran a mile until last year. I always walked the ones you had to do through school. I was on dance team for about 3 years, but other than that, I wasn't involved in any sports. My diet was super bad looking back at it. And I guess reflecting now, I understand that I wasn't a fan of super cheesy stuff, because that's all my mom really cooked was a bunch of casseroles. Mm-hmm. And I would never really participate in dinner when she made it. So at a really young age, I started cooking for myself. I remember I was probably 4 years old when I started experimenting in the kitchen with supervision, of course. But I grew up eating fast food. I drank 5 or 6 Cokes a day, ramen noodles, just
breakfast of champions.
Yeah. And that diet followed me into college. And it was during college when I really noticed I gained weight. I started experiencing different health issues that just weren't normal and I wasn't comfortable with. But I didn't really take any action until about 2 years ago. I remember it was during the middle of busy season, and I just went home, turned on Netflix, stumbled upon Forks Over Knives, and it just made a lot of sense. So I told myself right then, like, this makes sense. I'm going to try it out because my dad actually, he had bypass surgery at 42.
Wow.
My entire family's health history it's not good. There's been several members with cancer. There's gout, diabetes, about everything you can think of. And I just knew that at 25, like, that's where I was going to end up if something didn't change. So I told myself right then, I was like, I'm going to try this whole vegan thing out. And it was during my busy season. So I was traveling about every other week. And it was really hard. And I didn't make it that first time around. I don't think I had the support, and I didn't reach out to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And living in a small town, I didn't know anyone that was vegan locally. And so I made it maybe 3 weeks before I kind of gave up.
Yeah. I'm sure that would be hard. I mean, like, you're just starting out, and then you're traveling right away, and you're trying to, because most people really have to, learn how to make that work while traveling. And that's usually like that next step, right? Not the first step. So yeah. I could see where that would be super challenging.
And traveling for work, I had no control over where we were going.
Right.
And there was they gave me a little pressure, of course.
You're right.
But so it went on, and in June of that same year, me and my best friend took this bucket list trip to Italy. I met her over there. She's a teacher, and she was there with students. So when the students flew back, I showed up, and then we spent a week in Italy, France, and then we ended up in London. But I remember, I think it was the second day I was there, we were just walking, just me and her, because there was a few other people with us. And I just said out loud, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm not happy with where I am in my relationship, and I'm not comfortable, like, in my body. I'm just not happy. And she was like, I don't know. She's not one to lie to me ever. So it really made me think the rest of the trip. I had to make a lot of hard decisions. So when I came back, I was like, this is about me. I'm going to start doing things that I want to do. I'm not going to let anyone hold me back. So I ended up meeting my boyfriend in August, and he's the one that kind of challenged me to do this cleanse, which was the first 10 days of it are all vegan. And I was like, yeah, I'm completely willing. I've tried this out, but it's something I'd really like to adopt permanently. So we did that. And after day 10, I just never really added back the meat or anything. I ended up, like, I lost, I think, at least 10 pounds within that cleanse period, but my energy levels completely changed. Like, I just woke up, I guess. And then my friends, of course, were like, what did you do? I want to do this. Like, can you help me? So I've meal prepped for a few people to kind of help them get through it, because it is intimidating. But fortunately, I love to cook. That's my passion. So when he was like, let's do this cleanse, I was like, okay. So I went out and researched, like, all these different recipes, because you couldn't have beans or nuts, which kind of limited most of the vegan recipes I already knew about. So I ended up, like, I created a new dish every day, and it was fun. It was super challenging, but definitely worth it. And that's kind of when I had my blog for a few years before that, but I was like, this is something I want to share, because I feel like it's not something a lot of people know how to do, especially people close to me, my friends. So I accidentally deleted my entire website. And then so I started from scratch and just started posting all my plant-based recipes.
Nice. And like, so when you did that, I guess you had to restart it, right? I mean, I'm sure that's helping you stay accountable as well, because you're trying to reach out to people and trying to form a community. So it's obviously you have to stay accountable yourself, because other people are trying to learn from you, you know?
For sure. And I've done a handful of live cooking demonstrations and speaking engagements. And I think that's something I would have never, ever pictured myself doing. I made people put their heads on their desk in high school when I had to give a speech. So getting up in front of people was, like, off the table. But it's been the most rewarding thing, being able to give a live cooking demo, have people taste vegan recipes. And then it's everyone I've done, people have stayed afterwards, and just I've got to one-on-one talk to them, ask them like what's the reason they're interested in plant-based, and really just develop relationships that I don't think I would have developed otherwise.
Right. I just that being able to network with so many, and like I know you said one of your biggest challenges was the first time around that you tried to do this was that you didn't feel like you had the support,
Exactly.
which now through all of these social media platforms, it really doesn't matter if you have the in-person support. Like you have the support. There's so many communities or people you follow that you can learn from and reach out to. So that aspect of it is so helpful for people. What do you think was the biggest, whenever you had people coming up to you after talking, what do you think the biggest question was that people were asking?
Most of them they're really interested in where to find recipes. And I normally kind of ask them, like, what's your favorite food non-vegan? And I follow so many different plant-based bloggers, and I'll share their websites. I tell them, go to Instagram, follow me, look at the people I follow. Social media is an amazing tool for finding that content. Actually, part of redoing my whole blog and website was I went into my Twitter and deleted everyone I followed because it seemed like everyone I followed was negative. So I literally just unfollowed everyone and started fresh, followed people that inspire me, a lot of people that have been guests on your podcast, and it's really helped.
That's awesome. And that's a very, very important tip, Brittany, that you bring up. And I'm glad you did, because I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned that tip, because it really is important. So, if you have and everybody does, right? You have people you've just followed for a long time, but you're taking in everything. Like literally as you're scrolling through your social media, even if you barely read something, like if it's negative, you take that in and you absorb that somehow. So you have to really be cautious of who you're following, what are your goals, and align who you follow with those goals. Because if you can just take in constant positivity, if you're into nutrition and cooking, taking in constant healthy cooking, healthy nutrition, that's going to slowly over time help shape who you want to be and where you're trying to go. Because people are like, oh, well, it's not a big deal. It's somebody from high school. But it really is. If it's something that you're seeing once a day, every day for 5 years, like that's a big deal.
Exactly.
So, if you have to unfollow a few people, you don't have to message them and tell them, like, you don't have to be rude about it.
No.
Obviously, like, always be the bigger person, loving. But like, all you have to do is either, if you don't want to unfriend them, you can hide them. You can hide their, hide their feeds or unfollow. But I think that's a huge tip, Brittany, because I think a lot of people can reach their goals a lot faster if they just be super cautious of who they're following. And obviously who you're hanging out with in real life as well.
Yes. And I actually deleted the Facebook app completely from my phone. And if there's something I absolutely need to do, like post right then, or if someone sent me a message, I'll download it, respond, and then delete it again, because it's a huge waste of time if you're conscious of how often you look at it and the content that you're reading. It's not productive for me. It doesn't align with my goals. So
yeah, no, 100%. I love that. And what's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh, I love Indian food. So a lot of curry.
A lot of curry? No, that's cool. I like Indian food too. I don't have it enough, but it is good though. I do love Indian food.
It's definitely not, I can't get Indian food anywhere close to me. So I have a friend who actually gave me some spice blends. He's Indian, so that's my go-to.
Your go-to supplier for your curry. That's funny. Yeah. So you were saying, you are in a small town. So even though I'm sure it's gotten better over time, just because everybody's catching on to this kind of movement, it's definitely easier to get certain foods now. Have you noticed that it's gotten better since the start of your journey?
For sure. Our local Kroger actually just continually carries new vegan products, and I've had a lot of people think I'm the one responsible. It's like I request a few things, but there's definitely some other people out there that are requesting these items, which is super awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think most stores too, because a lot of people don't know that most stores will bring stuff in if you just request it. I do know I'm in Florida, so we don't have Kroger's, but I grew up in West Virginia, so we have Kroger's there.
Yeah.
But and then I have family that are still there, and I know like they have like Simply Balanced. I know that they have their organic line, right? And I know they have a lot more options, like you were saying as well, which is cool because when you're I grew up in a small town as well, and it's hard to give somebody advice if they can't find what you're talking about. So it's cool that they're bringing more stuff into a lot more mainstream stores.
Yeah, I definitely drive an hour and a half to go to Whole Foods
Ooh.
and bring stuff back. But stuff I post on the blog or when I do demonstration, I try to only use things that you can get locally. And I try to give them specific like brand information, like where it is in the store, because it is intimidating.
Right. Is the farmer's market scene pretty good over there?
It's getting better. It's pretty small still, but our main street has won national awards for the progress they've made. And the farmer's market's definitely a big part of that. It's only, the one on Main Street's only on Saturdays, so I don't always get to make it because it seems I'm always out of town. But there's a few farmers in town that are definitely like eager to collaborate and willing to find the stuff that people are looking for.
That's awesome. How close is like where Allen with Vet Veggies? How close are they're like their facility to where you are right now?
4 hours.
Oh wow, yeah. So that's a that's a good trip. That's a good trip.
Which that part of the state has an amazing farmers market, which I got to visit last week. So I stocked up on a lot of stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. No. So, kind of back to your story. So you started implementing this. Obviously, it started getting easier because you learned how to adapt and cook recipes that you really love, but are still plant-based, right? So where did it kind of go from there? Because I mean, you lost, a pretty good amount of weight, right? And then obviously that affects every aspect of your life.
Yes. So I think by December, following the September that I started, I'd lost around 30 pounds. And my boyfriend kind of challenged me to run a half marathon with him, which I said earlier, I'd never run a mile.
Right.
So we started training, and he thought that I was, I guess, being dramatic because I couldn't run like an eighth of a mile, because he'd be like, just make it to like this sign and then you can take a break. And I couldn't make it. So he bought me a fitness tracker watch with a heart rate monitor. And he's like, okay, I understand now. In just a few steps, it would be up to 190.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not where I want to be running wise. And it's a love-hate relationship. I guess July 4th was the anniversary of my first 5K.
That's awesome.
I finished the half marathon last November. I made it to mile 6 and then had to walk the rest of the way. It was super intense. My hands, my feet, everything started swelling. But I was like, I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to walk. Luckily, I had this lady who ended up walking the rest of the way with me. But even though I didn't finish that race within my goals or even close to my goals, it was a big moment, mentally challenging, physically challenging. Mm-hmm. It's something I want to go back and do again, but I know now that I'm just going to have to train for a lot longer.
Yeah, just building that endurance. And yeah, it really is hard. And especially since you said you've never really ran. That was definitely a big learning curve for sure.
And my watch died at mile 6.
So. Oh, that doesn't help either. So yeah, no, that's awesome. And so you did the race and starting to add more fitness into that. Do you have anything coming up in the future that you just want to, share with people?
I do plan on doing some cooking classes in Northwest Arkansas. I don't have specifics yet. I am going to run another half marathon, hopefully this year. I just have to find one that fits my schedule. But yeah, if there's any events nearby, I would love to do a recipe demo. I love traveling, so.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You should start putting some of your recipes on YouTube as well. I know it helps a lot of people to visually be able to see the process done, as well.
Yes, that's something I've definitely considered. I'm in the market for some way to either like hold my phone vertically or horizontally, like above my portable cooktop so they could see.
Gotcha.
I haven't found something that looks super trustworthy.
I'm sure they have to have some good ones out there that don't drop your phone in the middle of like your hummus or something.
Yeah, either that or I'm just going to buy a better camera just solely for food videos.
Yeah, no, you should because people obviously respond well to that. It's a great way for people to learn and just obviously the more different forms of media the better. So no, I love that.
If there's any recipes, like if you're trying to go plant-based or already plant-based, if there's a recipe of a dish that's maybe not vegan that you would love to find a vegan version, like send me a message. I love getting ideas. I'm constantly trying to find new recipes that people will like. So all the feedback is welcome.
Cool. Awesome. And I'll be doing that as well because I am definitely not a natural cook. So if I can't find something, I will be hitting you up for how to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And Brittany, I was checking out your Fellow Foodie site and I got to know, how did you meet Oprah? Because that's that's pretty cool.
Well, I think that was in 2014. It was weird because I wasn't a member of her fan club or anything, but somewhere along the way, I got an email saying that she was going to do the Life You Want tour. And the dates were like quickly approaching. So I told my mom, I was like, we have to do this. Like, I'll figure out a way to pay for you, but I really want to do this because I grew up watching Oprah with my grandma and she passed away in 2012. So I was like, this is a big thing that I want to do with my mom. And so my dad, he was kind of listening into our conversation. He's like, obviously this is something that like you really, really want. He's like, I'm going to make a deal. Both of you have like 10 seconds to say yes or no. And he was like, I'll pay for you to go and I'll get you the VIP passes so you can actually meet her. And I was like, yes, of course. And mom just kind of sat there and I was like, Mom. So that's like one of the best presents I've ever been given. It was just a weekend in Houston and she had, I think, 5 other people with her, Deepak Chopra, Ilana Van Zant. It was an amazing weekend. And I definitely say that played a part in my mindset and how I shaped my goals when I did decide that plant-based was something I wanted to really pursue. I've kind of adopted the vision board tips along the way. So
no, that's cool. I love that. No, obviously she's a very inspiring person and anything that she puts out there is worth implementing, right? So that's really cool that you got to do that. I love that. And yeah, so Brittany, I want everybody to go check out your recipes and give you a follow on social media. So what is the best way for people to do that?
I think Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is all at The Fellow Foodie. And then my blog is thefellowfoodie.com. And I hope to have a YouTube page put together soon. And then there is an email link on my website if you want to contact me directly or send me a direct message through Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
Perfect. And Brittany, closing question that I ask every guest. But if you just have one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it's something that's been your biggest takeaway through your wellness journey so far. But if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
Definitely mindset and intention. Stay positive. Only let those positive vibes come your way and make sure your intention's clear. There's a lot of people that will judge you and make rude comments if you let them know you're going plant-based, but just kind of push it aside. Don't listen to it and just do what's best for you.
Awesome. No, that's perfect, Brittany. I love it. And just thank you so much for taking time to come on. I loved having you and excited for people to go check out your blog and your recipes because they're all amazing. So so guys, would give her a follow. And Brittany, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Brittany. She's doing so much positive work, so be sure to give her a follow on social media to keep up with everything that she's been working on. You can find her social media links that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drcaseyjohnson.com. That's drkaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Brittany's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Brittany, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Also, be sure to check out patreon.com/Dr. Casey Johnson to learn more about how you can support the Unlock Wellness podcast. Thank you guys so much again for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved it. I hope it inspires you. And most importantly, I hope you take action.